Warning, Sable contains gruesome depictions of violence, gore, and strong language. It's intended for mature audiences only. Thanks for listening.
Sable, The Shattered Worlds, Episode 6. One Last Song. If... The words croaked out of Sebastian's cracked, bloodied lips, the taste of iron filling his mouth. If you are just a part of me. He was singing, or at least what he could muster as singing. How could I ever be whole? The words hurt, physically and emotionally, memories filling his battered, fizzing mind. If you are just a part of me, if... The thoughts stopped as bloodshot eyes locked onto the rock floor beneath him. Wooden shards, like tiny little spikes, littered the entire area, staring back at him, reminding him of his failures. He could have saved her. He had to have saved her. If only he wasn't so fucking useless. Perhaps Crow would still be living. Aren't the damn words. Sebastian spat on the ground, a mixture of blood and phlegm splashing against the floor. Not even the fucking words, you idiot. He shivered with laughter. Can't even remember the damn song. She'd kill you for that. Another cold, heartless laugh escaped his lips. God, he was going insane down here. 3 weeks. He had to have been down here for at least 3 weeks. His body was frail, bones pressing against skin, and his head was constantly swimming around, making it hard to focus on anything. And he needed a drink. Oh, by the gods, he needed a drink. And Ferdinand, and Maven, and Crow. Tears, what little that could be formed, welled up in his eyes. Crow was dead, and it was all his fault. He had seen the corpse himself, butchered haphazardly, thrown about every which way. There was another body in the room, supposedly belonging to Sable, but Sebastian was never given a good look at it. It was always off in the corner, its back facing him. Why? Why was it always facing away from him? Think. In the background, he could just faintly hear the sound of a door opening, a small crack of light entering the otherwise darkened room. Fuck. It was coming back for him, forcing him to go back into that room with the corpses. Fuck. Oh, Sebastian, that sickly sweet voice purred, causing the chained man to shiver violently. Poor Sebastian, why do you act like that? The armored beast giggled, pressing a hand against Sebastian's back, scratching at him. With these past 3 weeks, I thought we might have become friends, chums. Another laugh. I know so much about you, Sebastian. I feel like we've become closer than ever. Fuck off and just kill me. Sebastian wheezed, his chest rising hard with each word. That's what you want, right? To off me? Toss my corpse in with Sable's? He began to whimper. You fucking bastard. The monster clicked its teeth together, shaking its head. "Oh, poor Sebastian. Is that what you think of me? A cold-hearted murderer? Why, I thought you knew me better than that." It moved away from him for just a moment. "I don't want to kill you, Sebastian. In fact, it's the exact opposite." Crack! A plank of wood smacked hard against Sebastian's back, splinters stabbing into his flesh. The beaten man yelped, drool billowing from his ruined lips. "I want you to live, to thrive." Crack! Crack! The plank split into two after the third whack, both pieces falling to the ground, their crash overpowered by the sound of Sebastian's screams. "You fucking bastard!" Sebastian screamed. "Just fucking kill me! Kill me!" His whole body slumped forward as he succumbed to tears. "I can't. I can't." "Oh, but you can," the beast retorted with a laugh. "You have so little faith in yourself. Meanwhile," there was silence once more, "I have the utmost confidence in your abilities." Another plank was destroyed against the bruised man's back, blood oozing from his wounds. There soon came another, and a fourth. Sebastian began to fade out of consciousness, and it appeared that the armored beast realized this very thing. "Sebastian," it growled out, "I know that you just need a bit of motivation, and I am nothing but a humble provider. So sleep on it, and tomorrow we'll get back to work." "Please, I can't," Sebastian croaked out. "I can't. Shh. You can. I know you can." A chuckle as the world began to phase out into darkness. "Or you'll die trying. Your choice." "When you became a part of me, I finally felt whole," Sebastian murmured as he was dragged down a corridor, his bare feet scratching against the solid earth beneath him. "And when you became a part of me, you began to fix my soul?" He whimpered. No, those aren't the fucking words. She's gonna be so pissed off at me." "Who's going to be pissed off at you, Sebastian?" "Sable," he whispered, wincing in pain as a shard of glass split into his skin. "Sable's gonna be so mad if I don't get this song right." "And what song would that be?" Sebastian wheezed out a chuckle. Asked me to write a song for her and Boggs. God, they are so in love, even in this spire." They stopped moving as the metal beast opened up a door. Hey, wait a minute. I don't remember us having a dungeon in here. Who are you?" His bleary eyes locked onto the metal beast. "Who are you?" "A scientist, Mr. Blue," the creature chirped. "Just like you." "And what do you research? I don't remember seeing you at the spire's opening." "I'm researching you, of course." It laughed, tossing Sebastian into the newly opened room, "and it's been quite a delight." The door locked, leaving Sebastian in the red room alone. "Researching me?" Sebastian shook his head, chuckling. What a kidder. Serena must have picked him. Always lacked the... He had to lean against the wall as the whole world began to spin. "Smartasses. Wait." He coughed, his chest tightening. "This isn't right. This isn't..." There it was. Sebastian's eyes fell onto the giant armored bird sprawling out on a metal slab, its stomach ripped open, innards still littering the ground beneath it. In the far corner there was another body, smaller, pale, its front facing the wall, their face hidden from him. Sable? Sebastian stumbled about, falling to the ground. His face landed in black guts, thick blood covering his face, making it impossible to open his eyes. Sable! Sable! Memories began filling his mind like a ruptured faucet. He was not in the spire. He was locked in some sort of dungeon, tortured by a crazed thing. He was nothing but a toy to this manic being, and he was still not sure what the point of this all was. Why wouldn't the beast just let him die? 'Cause he wants to see if you can still raise the dead. Sebastian found himself whispering, his eyes bulging as he looked upon the human corpse before him. Wants to see if you still have any use. Sebastian licked at his lips, taking a few more steps towards the corpse. Did he want to bring Sable back to life? Absolutely. There was nothing he wanted more at the moment, but he knew it was impossible. He had tried before, tried until he passed out from frustration, but it was all for no good. Sebastian Blue had lost any sense of his power, any inkling of what he had in the simulation. It was as if a whole other part of him had died when his guitar shattered into 1,000 pieces. There was nothing he could do. No matter how hard he wished, it wasn't the case. Please. The weary man stepped towards the corpse, blood staining his feet a deep crimson. Please work. Trembling hands pressed against the woman's side. Jesus, she felt so cold, so very, very cold. Just get up and be a smartass. Hit me. Do something. He began to turn her so he could look upon her face, some part of him wishing that it wasn't Sable lying in front of him, that this was all just some cruel joke from the armored creature. Do something, goddammit. You fucker. A voice growled behind Sebastian, causing him to jump. You fucking bastard. The voice was unfamiliar, but Sebastian couldn't help but feel as if he had heard it somewhere before. Look at me, Sebastian Blue. Fucking look at me. Though he tried not to, he couldn't help himself. Sebastian turned his head, a gasp escaping his lips. The ripped open crow stood before him, legs wobbling, arms unable to lift from their sides. Blood poured from its cavernous wounds, though it seemed not to care. One eye glared at Sebastian, bearing into his very soul. How are you? Shut up. The crow tried to slam a fist against the metal slab, but it could just barely move its arm, resulting in a wet slap. Shut your filthy fucking mouth, Mr. Blue. The tattered armored took another step forward. You let that thing rip me open. You let it treat me like a goddamned arts project. You! The crow slumped, its weak shoulders shivering. You let it take Sable from me. You let it take Sable. Now look. Sebastian's eyes looked towards the corpse he still had his hands on. Now she's fucking dead. Sebastian fell to the floor, his legs having given out on him. I know. He closed his eyes, words hard to come by. I know. Good job, Sebastian Blue. Great fucking job. The crow gripped his head. Now I get to properly thank you. Its hands pulled his head back, planning to bash his head against the metal slab. You fucked everything up. How good of you. Sebastian screamed out, but nothing happened. He opened his eyes and saw that there was nothing behind him, the crow still laying on its back. A brief cry of relief escaped his lips, his shoulders shivering as tears filled his eyes. He was still alive. He was still here. Which meant Sable was still dead, and there was no hope for him bringing her back. "Fuck," he grunted, moving to lean himself against Sable's body. "I'm sorry," he whispered, moving his hand through her black hair. "I'm so sorry." Despite his better efforts, despite all rules of logic, he wished Sable would just wake up right then and there. It was possible, right? Sebastian had brought his powers from the simulation, and Sable had kept hers. Why couldn't she just wake up, completely revived? A smile crossed his lips at the thought, but it quickly faded as Sable continued to lay there, motionless, her eyes closed, her lips forever sealed. His shoulders began to shake, and breathing became all the more difficult as tears filled his eyes. Sable was gone. There was no bringing her back. He was absolutely useless. After all this time with these powers, he couldn't bring back the one person he truly wanted to. Someone who had become a dear friend to him in that little time they spent in the spire. In that moment, Sebastian did the only thing he could, the only thing he knew how to do, and how to do well. He sang. If he realized what he was doing, he couldn't tell. The words were just flowing from him despite the pain, despite the heartache. He held her head close to his chest and sung the last song he had written before the spire went online. It was a song he had written for Sable to give to Boggs. It would be her last sign of affection before they would all pass. The world was such a dark place before you stepped in. And once I saw your smiling face, the healing could begin. For it was you who could put me back together and accept my nicks and flaws. For it was you who could put me back together and make the darkness pause. For you're now a part of me. How could darkness take me back in? For you're now a part of me. How could I possibly never, ever grin? Some will call me a fool, and perhaps they're right. But when I look into your eyes, all I see is light. And though they may try to dissuade me, I know this love was meant to be. For you're now a part of me. For you're now a perfect part of me. For you're now a needed part of me. How could I ever have lived before you?
Sable was written and narrated by me, Lane Lloyd. Sable's theme music was performed by Moonplatoon, and you can find more work from them on their SoundCloud below. Just as long as SoundCloud keeps existing, not steeps existing. That doesn't make any sense. I still don't know what's going on with SoundCloud. That's a weird thing. That's for another podcast, though. That is not mine, because I do not pay close enough attention to it. But while SoundCloud is still around, you can check out Moonplatoon's work. They're really fucking good. And I'm not just saying that because they made my theme song, but it does help. Guys, as you all know, Twitter is on... Oh my gosh, I am out of it. This is what I get for recording an episode with very little sleep. Sable is on all social medias, including Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, MySpace, whatever, Friendster, My Yearbook, whatever one you want, Sable's probably there. And you can find all the links to those social media accounts in the show notes below. Also, as you probably already know, because I'm always on top of promoting things, wink, especially for the network I work with, Sable is a part of the Fake Crafters network of podcasts, which is primarily audio dramas. Actually, I think we're all audio dramas. I don't think we have anything that's not an audio drama podcast. But either way, Sable's a part of that channel, and we have a lot of great fucking shows, and I'm really sorry that I don't vocally promote the shows all the time. I do try and lead people to not only the website, but to particular shows. I'm going to be getting better at actually promoting them while doing the outro, because some people don't read the show notes. So sometimes they miss this, or they just don't pay attention because you're jackasses. No, I'm kidding. You're absolutely fine. But so tonight's promotion, or this week's promotion, is actually going to be for a show that just released this week. It's called Girl in Space. It's our newest podcast. I don't think we have one that just started other than that one. But yeah, it's a really great sci-fi podcast. If you like the Right Now podcast, that's WRITE Now podcast, it's actually created by the same person. And it's really great. What a fucking great pilot. I always get a little jealous when people have better pilots than I did, but hey, it's all a learning experience, right? We all have to start somewhere. So yeah, please check that out. You'll find a link to the iTunes feed in the show notes below, as well as the link to the Fake Crafters website. Man, these last two episodes have been downers, and this one kind of left me really self-conscious. This is the first time I've recorded myself singing where I wasn't intentionally joke singing. This was the first time I put in an attempt. I know I was also acting like I was dying and and tortured, but it's the closest I've gotten to recording a actual attempt to sing, and I'm very self-conscious about that. Please do not be too mad at me. Please don't be too mean at me with this. This is kind of the first time I've done it, but I figured that this needed to happen. I mean, Sebastian Blue is a musical character who has not done anything musically in the entire show, so I figured, why not do it in the most depressing episode I think that I've written. God, this season's been a real downer. And if you want to be depressed earlier, because I can't really think of a better way to sell this, Sable has a Patreon. You get the episodes early. You get exclusive short stories, which I am getting better at publishing. I actually have another part going out. I'm also thinking about doing some other things with the Patreon. Maybe not necessarily just always putting up short stories for everybody, but maybe incorporating impromptu fiction into it. What's impromptu fiction, you might ask? Great segue, Lane. Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends is the other podcast that I do because I hate free time. That one is... Sorry, I had to swallow there for a second. It's the fucking weather. Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends is a comedic podcast I do, where I get together with writers, and they're not always from other podcasts, but more have been from podcasts than not. We get together and we write short stories based off of a prompt that I give them, and we're not allowed to edit or rewrite the stories. They are first drafts, they are stream of consciousness, and we get together and read them to each other for the first time. And it's supposed to be comedic. I don't want it to. I don't want us to have really depressing, gut-wrenching stories on the show. That's been great. There are 5 episodes out right now. The 6th one is going up later this week. It's probably actually just going to go up tomorrow because I have some free time and I need to get a lot of work done. Your boy Lane is way behind on shit, but we're gonna get that fixed. So I think that's it for the outro. That's it for me for this week, unless you go to Impromptu Fiction, which is also in the show notes. Also, just a warning for that. That podcast is an hour long normally, so that is either for your longer commutes or while you're at home drawing or just doing things where you don't need to focus on that activity and you can focus on the podcast. Just so you know, it's not like a 30-minute or in this case like a 20-minute podcast. It is an hour, so factor in some time when you listen to it. That's going to be it for me. Expect some more news from me in the upcoming weeks. I'm actually recording a interview tonight with the Ninth Story podcast folks again. So that's exciting. Especially right after I've done all this work on this podcast. I need to do more work on another podcast, but that's neither here nor there. I have been Lane. This has been Sable, and I will see you guys next week with episode 7.